The way that draft choices are viewed as precious today, that was not a consensus position held by everybody in pro football in those days. It had gotten to a few places, but it hadn't gotten everywhere yet.
Chuck Noll, besides wanting to build through the draft, one of his other edicts was, we will find the best athletes out there. And some of the great athletes of the day were playing at these small black colleges.
It doesn't matter to us where a prospect is. As you know, we have quite a few prospects from smaller schools.
John Stallworth from Alabama A&M. He didn't have a great 40 time, but Bill Nunn recognized he's not going to be running on as good of a surface as the guy from Ohio State, who might have a 1/10 of a second faster time.
And you look at the great players from small colleges, Joe Green to Dwight White, Mel Blount. They were able to find players that fit all over the country.
A 10th round choice from Arkansas A&M, from Texas Southern, from East Texas State, from North Texas State. 4 young men from tiny southern colleges.
Not to take anything away from Dick Haley and some of their other scouts that they had, but he was the big influence into the black colleges. That helped build that football team. In fact, I used to try to follow Bill around, because sometimes it was hard to get film. Bill knew how to get the film.
In the case of Stallworth, there was like 1 can of film.
Bill had instructions from the coach to keep it a week and send it to someone else. Every time you walked by the film room, they were watching with the coaches, they were watching themselves. I think my dad was in there watching it with them, and we never sent it to anyone.
I mean, this worked out perfectly.
Stallworth, you see, he knew a little bit more probably than we did.
And that was probably a factor in one of the greatest drafts of all time.
There was no shortage of information when it came to other receivers in the '74 draft, particularly Lynn Swann, whose skill and charisma at USC had captured the attention of the pro football world.
I like to think of myself as a true competitor, and there's no more competition in the field than returning a punt when it's you and at least 9 guys that you have to get away from, mostly by yourself.
Pittsburgh up.
Chuck loved John Stallworth, but he went to Alabama A&M, one of those small black schools. Lynn Swann, he went to Southern Cal. Everybody knew who Lynn Swann was. Everybody knew Lynn Swann was going to be a first-round pick.
As the Steelers' internal debate continued, it appeared their discord on selecting a big school or small school receiver might cause Pittsburgh's selection time to expire, thus giving the Cowboys the chance to jump in front of them in line. Dallas prepared accordingly, filling out an index card with the player it wanted and racing to the podium. Had only a few more seconds passed, Dallas would have taken the 20th pick before Pittsburgh could. Instead, after 14 minutes and 55 seconds of their 15-minute selection time, the Steelers made a decision.
Pittsburgh on the first round selects Lynn Swann, wide receiver, Southern California.
The scouts, Nunn, Art Rooney Jr., Haley, all of them, convinced Chuck Swann would be gone if they didn't take him in the first round. Stallworth would still be there.
And as it turned out, they played it perfectly. The Dallas Cowboys were up next in the draft, and they were all set to take Lynn Swann, which is really a delicious part of the whole Steeler-Cowboy rivalry as it plays out over the rest of the decade, because how many big plays did Lynn Swann make against the Cowboys over the years?
The race for Swann at 20th overall may have been an early flashpoint in the eventual Pittsburgh-Dallas rivalry, but it would prove to be just one part of the Steelers' historic performance in the 1974 draft. For years, the Raiders had been colliding with the Steelers in the battle for AFC supremacy.
And there's a collision.
But off the field, especially as it concerned finding the right players for their systems, Oakland and Pittsburgh were philosophically in sync. That was proven by both the Dave Casper pick in the second round and with the Steelers pick that followed it. Pittsburgh was looking for a new middle linebacker. But they needed more than a new player. They needed a new kind of player. One who could both support the run near the line of scrimmage and drop into deep zone pass coverage in Pittsburgh's new Cover 2 scheme.
Art Rooney Jr. went over to Kent State once, and they were practicing on some gravel. And he saw a skinny kid dive head first to make a tackle. And he says, that's one tough guy there.
Weighed 208 pounds, swear, 208 pounds. How's he going to play linebacker in the National Football League?
With the 46th overall pick, the Steelers passed on bigger players with bigger names, like linebacker Matt Blair, in favor of the tall, lanky Kent State Golden Flash who fit Pittsburgh's new profile of a middle linebacker.
He could drop into pass coverage, so tight ends going across the middle, he could cover them. And he was tough enough to make the tackles that a middle linebacker should make. So I don't think there was really a debate when they drafted Jack Lambert, other than Chuck still wanted John Stallworth.
Tight eye left!
After taking Jack Lambert in the second round, the Steelers had no pick in the third. But when their turn came up in the fourth round, the player Chuck Noll coveted was still available. So the Steelers drafted receiver John Stallworth, before looking to the trenches in the fifth round with the selection of a center from Tomahawk, Wisconsin, named Mike Webster.
In terms of building a team that was going to be a perennial contender year in and year out, the Steelers were truly the model of the 70s. And there's a couple things that work there. One is appreciating the value of those draft choices, and two is knowing how to fit those players into your own system.